A disturbing series of violent attacks known as the knockout games have left people in the emergency room and several dead across the country. The perpetrators attempt to knock out unsuspecting strangers with a single blow. At least a dozen such attacks have happened here in Brooklyn. A 20-year-old New York City man has been charged for allegedly assaulting 7 men, all unprovoked and in broad daylight. 2 of the victims were over 65. Daryl Mitchell pled not guilty. It was the first arrest in the attacks that have mostly targeted identifiably Jewish people.
What's disturbing over here is that it's being done specifically for the purpose of violence, and the victims have all been Jewish victims.
While the New York Police Department declined to call the attacks a pattern, Greenfeld said there is now a trend of targeting Jewish people and that his community is very concerned.
I think that in general, we've seen that overall, the African American and Jewish communities have very good relationships in New York. We certainly have come a long way since the riots and pogroms of Crown Heights in 1991, and things have significantly improved. So certainly, I think that those relationships have been building, and as you've seen, almost all of the Jewish and black leaders have been united on condemning these attacks.
Indeed, leaders of the African American and Jewish communities joined together in mid-December at the Brooklyn Supreme Court to decry the violent attacks. Colin Flaherty said the press is in denial about the racial aspects of these attacks. An author and former journalist, he's documented hundreds of knockout game assaults since 2010. He mentioned the open letter written by a recently elected councilwoman for Crown Heights. She wrote how many of her black constituents told her they feel threatened by the growth of the neighborhood's Jewish community. That, she said, could have led to the violence.
This plays into the worst stereotypes. It plays into absolute justification for this enormous amount of violence, not just New York, but all over the country. And it's about as bad as it gets when you hear that kind of stuff.
The councilwoman has since apologized for the remarks. A local Jewish resident of Crown Heights said there is a bit of fear in the Jewish community, but she added the numbers show it's not yet a trend.
I felt sad that it turned into a racial, that people keep pinning it to race. I think there's 120,000 over that many assaults and violent crimes in cities throughout the U.S. So a few small incidents, and violent crimes that have, that plague cities will happen. It's a fact of living in a city.
A 9-year resident of the neighborhood, Wolf said she feels very safe in Crown Heights. She believes the foundation to fighting crime is education. The Jewish Community Relations Council of New York has offered a $5,000 reward for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of a knockout games attacker. The council hopes this will help the police end the attacks as soon as possible and make the streets safer for all New Yorkers. This is Zach Badorf for JN1 in New York.